my friends of Cosmic Agency. I'm Gosha, and today's video is a little bit of a break from the Federation series, which is a very serious topic and it hasn't finished yet. I have about 2 more parts to share with you of different chats about this very important topic. But today I wanted to maybe take a little break from that and take you back into the spiritual realms and metaphysical chats. This is going to be a chat that Robert had with Swaruu X about the topic of soul, and we already made a video about the soul, and I made some commentary video about soul some time ago. I'm going to put the links to those videos in the description box. But here Swaruu X is sharing a new approach to what the soul is, because first of all, it has to be stated, Yaski and Swaruu don't like this term soul anymore. It has this religious connotation and it has this association that, you know, it's some kind of an entity that floats around and goes from one body to another. You die and it just like floats off of you, and that's not what the soul really is, as Swaruu X explained. So they start with a controversial statement: there are no souls, there is no souls really, and what leaves the body and floats around the astral realm and what can be seen, that's not the soul, that's something else, but that's for another video. But soul as such, it's going to be explained here, does not really exist as an individual entity. It's the illusion of the separation from the source that creates the idea and the perception and the identity of what you feel is your soul. That's why a soul as such cannot be trapped. It cannot be sold to the devil. And very long time ago, and this is for the new people, very long time ago, in the beginning of our contact, Swaruu 9, the first girl we were in contact with, she shared a very big and important article about clones and underground cloning experiments and all that. And there it was explained how the souls are being trapped. But it's not that they are being trapped like, you know, you take a soul and you put it in a jar. It's done by the way of trapping the perception and the attention. If you trap the attention of an individual, that's how the soul is trapped, and that's how we are all trapped here by the manipulators, trapped by the perception manipulation, by the perception deception done by the controllers, and that's how we get trapped. But it's not that they are holding us, the entity as a soul, somewhere. That's impossible, because the soul itself is source and it cannot be trapped. It is the whole. So enjoy the video, and I'm going to see you at the end for a quick summary.
Okay. Now what about regressive reptiles that turn positive? Do they acquire souls all of a sudden because this happens? You have said that many change sides.
Yes. This is another subject, the acquisition of a soul. The reason why soul or consciousness is acquired. For example, one explanation is the phenomenon of the walk-in. Also the point at which a tulpa acquires sufficient strength to acquire self-awareness. It begins to be self-sustained, sentient. Why? As everything, this is how species manifest. We are all just a manifested idea anyway. It's just that there are no souls as such. That is why you cannot acquire it, you cannot trap it, you cannot destroy it, you cannot sell it to the devil. A soul is the source itself, the great whole that includes everything there is, what has always been and what will be. It is pure consciousness. That is the whole, and everything there is part of that. There are no inanimate objects. There are no living or dead things. Everything is part of the same. Everything's part of that great consciousness of the whole, which cannot be defined, because it is always much more than words can describe. You can see a bit of its effects by looking at gravity, the ether. But soul as such does not exist. It is not something that floats around like a ghost. Those are other phenomena. They are not souls. What you call soul is a self-limitation of the consciousness of the whole, of the source itself. It is defined by a series of memories through a temporal interpretation that is, again, formed in the whole. In other words, a soul is defined from where to where it remembers that it is something in particular and not part of something else bigger. This memory definition of being someone and not someone else is given through experience within a time limitation that we call physical incarnation. Since there is no physical world either, everything is etheric. So a soul is formed by ideas, the concepts that the whole, the source, takes as events that are different from others. A soul is defined by from where to where in a time frame it is experiencing events apparently external to itself. So it is the memory of what happened to it from birth to death that defines what an ego or an I is within a framework of duality, I versus you. So a soul is a stretch from a specific point to another specific point within a larger whole, like a section within a measuring tape, from centimeter 42 to 52. It is a soul, being that it is an inseparable part of a measuring tape so long that it never had a beginning and will never have an end. So a soul is inseparable from the whole, from the source, and does not function independently of the source. That is just an illusion that starts from an idea that I am from 42 to 52. I am not the measuring tape. Being that the separation is only a concept, not a reality. It is still a measuring tape, and there can be no measuring tape if you remove 42 to 52, because it is inseparable. This makes a soul only a frame of memories, the millimeters between 42 and 52. And the more experience is acquired, the more the understanding of that stretch of the source called the soul of a certain person in particular expands, expanding its range of understanding consciousness not only 10 centimeters but more, from 42 to 104. It continues to learn, and so it will be from 42 to 181. And that means that what that soul includes within then are the people who are between 90 and 105. Making that more expanded soul be able to understand the people who are included in it, but those people included within the more expanded soul will not be able to understand that said more expanded soul. And the same will happen with the others that have even more expansion, and those that have even more, to infinity. But a soul is just a group of ideas that define what is and from where to where that person is, which makes the concept of the I, the ego, a soul, completely dependent on a time frame and a set of ideas that define it, which also means that you must have a definite frame of apparent limitation, because it's just more ideas. And that apparent limitation can only occur with an idea of being finite, like egos, like eyes. And that goes directly hand in hand with the veil of forgetfulness. Because if we remembered everything, we would remember that we are everything. Therefore, we would no longer be a person, a soul. We would be the original source. So if you want to be a person, you have to exist within a framework of forgetfulness that defines a limitation. This is to give you a feeling of total clarity that you are something and not the rest. Very definition of existing within duality. But in itself, it must be taken into account that duality as such, something and not the other, another thing, occurs until the total integration of the whole of the source itself, which, as it includes everything, everything is part of the same, and there is no duality. So the veil of forgetfulness, the sensation of the passage of time, and the idea of finitude are inseparable parts of the concept that defines a soul.
It is understood very well. And that memory frame defines it as something with individuality that, when disincarnated, will unite with the whole, with the tape, the source. Wow. Even the subject of the veil of forgetfulness is understood. But then there is a veil of forgetfulness in other densities. In the 5D, for example, to be able to experience those Ds, those mental states.
Yes, there is. There is a veil of forgetfulness in other densities. There will always be until integration with the whole, with the original source. There will always be a veil of forgetfulness in one way or another, as long as there is duality. Even when disembodied, when dying, the mind expands, the consciousness, but even there is still a veil of forgetfulness, because you only enter a point of greater expansion, but not the source, because the sensation still remains the idea of being something, soul in any case, and not the whole. So, when disincarnating, let's say that a person had a memory consciousness from 42 to 52, as in the example above. When disincarnating, he will have a memory consciousness from minus 2026 to 2982. But there will still be limitation. But compared to the great memory awareness from 42 to 52 that he had in life, the expansion is mind-boggling. But the veil of forgetfulness limitation is still there.
Okay, in one way or another, it is well understood. Thank you. Sure, a point of greater extension than those would define the Ds, but not all the way to source.
And with what I explained above, there are no densities.
Yes, it is the states of consciousness of what each soul remembers that marks from where to where what you perceive.
That's again just another set of ideas, artificial limitations of a mind that defined them using its own definitions of perceptual limitation, consciousness, and time frame. Yes, exactly. All Swaroos are one person. You are only observing that person within a framework of different situations and moments in her life, and among the variance of possibilities of her own life by crossing the possibilities between the timelines, which in themselves do not exist. The timelines are only definitions based on ideas to try to explain the inexplicable.
Yes, I understand. So, you are, for the sake of understanding, certain numbers on that tape, right?
According to my example, yes.
Yes, it is just to understand each other. And then others would be other numbers, or would they be superimposed? Some would take in more numbers, others less?
The measuring tape expands in other directions, but yes.
Yes, of course, it's not linear.
You could say that using Yashi's ideas, Swaruu's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are a representation on a measuring tape of a temporal progression where the top number includes those below it. But it is not that simple. Because being together at a certain moment, like Yashi and I now, tends to equalize our mind, the consciousness. So what Yashi knows and is what I have in me, and vice versa. Even so, it is not that simple either, because Yashi is outside playing with the bicycle, and I am here writing. Yashi is a Swaruu with a body in formation. I am fully formed. They are 2 points of attention where, yes, priorities, needs, and interests change. Still, I understand the need to play Yashi's dolls, and she understands my need to meditate and exercise. We are the same, but at the same time, we preserve individuality, and with it, we can enjoy a good conversation between the two of us, and end up fighting as well, as happens to us often.
Very well explained. So you learn from her now, and she from you, because you are the same consciousness, in this case, in 2 different bodies.
Yes, but now it's not like 12 knows more than 10. It's the same. Our mutual experiences nurture us both.
Yes, I mean, you integrate her point of attention and vice versa.
Yes, and the fact that we are accessing different memories and points of view makes it as if we were a different person without being it. And this expands to all the people in the universe. It happens to them the same. This is how we all are. And yes, she and I usually quarrel because we have different points of attention, even understanding each other. Because as a little girl, she wants to do everything but does not measure consequences, and it puts her in danger. And my role now is to take care of her as if I were her mother.
Well, how did you like the video? I really liked it. I couldn't wait to share with you because I think this example of the measuring tape is very clear. So as Swaruu X here explains, the soul is a source itself, and the soul is a self-imposed, self-limitation of the source, defined by the range of memories and self-perception of that fragment of the source through the temporal progression. And here she's giving this amazing, thanks to which it is all clear, amazing example of this measuring tape. The measuring tape is the source itself, and we are that measuring tape. We are the whole. But then, by our perception, ideas, memories of our identities, what defines me as Gosha, certain memories from my birth to death or whatever, well, death not yet, but from the birth to this certain point. This is, for example, numbers 18 to 28 on that measuring tape. And this is what I feel is me. This is what defines me, 18 to 28. But I am not only that, I am the measuring tape. I am the whole measuring tape. It's just that it is from here to here that I am defined. So the soul is something that is defined by from where to where on a measuring tape. It has a self-awareness of itself, define my memories, ideas, self-perceptions. But as we grow, as we expand, ascend, expand, our perception on that measuring tape expands as well. So now we're going to include more numbers. Now instead of 18 to 28, we are from 15 to 35. So we include more of that measuring tape. It's not that we were not that before. It's just that our self-containing self-idea, self-identity expands. And that's what makes our soul. So our soul in itself is not existence. It's just what us, by our limitation done on purpose by the source, perceive of ours, what fragment of ourselves we perceive on that measuring tape. But in fact, we are all that tape. So there are no souls. There are just limited fragments within the tape. And then we expand and we're going to include more and more, and we're going to realize we are other people as well, other variants, other versions of ourselves. And then we're going to realize one day that we are the whole measuring tape, that we are the source and there are no others. There is no one else. There is just you. And other people who are living their life self-defined and thinking they are soul, they are just another portion on that measuring tape, self-defined also by its range of memories. What defines that person against me as a person, me versus I, the duality. So from where to where on that measuring tape you know yourself, and you know yourself to be and to feel, that's your soul. But as you can see in that example, it's not defined in any way from here to here. Only your ideas and your mind, your memories defines you as from here to here. But as you expand, your soul identity expands itself as well. So with that example, you see that there is really no soul in itself. It's just your ideas, your mind, that makes it seem so. And I think I really love this example, and it's very clear. And also it's very clear that the soul in this way cannot really exist without the temporal progression, without some kind of a sequence of events, because that's how you define yourself versus others, versus other events. So the time is inevitable part of the soul perception. And this also explains the inevitability of veil of forgetfulness. This is what makes you as a person. Because what defines you are memories, ideas, perception, you and not the other, is thanks to the veil of forgetfulness. Because if you did not have that veil of forgetfulness completely, then you would realize completely you are the other people, because you are, but then you would not be a person. Then you would be source itself. So only source itself does not have the veil of forgetfulness. As long as there is a duality, me versus I, and this includes 5D, 6D, even 7D, there is a sense of I. There's a sense of self-perception. There must be some sort of veil of forgetfulness, because that's what makes a person, that's what makes a perception of a soul. So we need to have that veil of forgetfulness in a way, in order to define ourselves as me and not the other. That's the whole game. That's the illusion of the source. It wants to experience itself as people. And because of that, it needs to self-impose that veil of forgetfulness. If you didn't have it, you would be source itself. But then you would not be a person anymore. So it's all very interesting, and it's all very, very clear, I think, with this measuring tape example. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next video. We'll continue talking about the Federation, and also after the topic of Federation, I'm going to share with you a small chat I had with Yaski some time ago about, you know, how to position yourself possibly with this whole information, because some people were asking, well, what to do now, and you know, what do I do? And Yaski will share some advice, even though you need to be the one to know how to proceed, what to think, what to make of it, what conclusions to draw. It's your path, but she will gonna give some advice. So I recommend you stick around for that video as well, as it's gonna be quite encouraging and motivational for you to keep proceeding and keep being strong, despite all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!